Hello and welcome to the third part for my Vulcan ability for men, which talks about how a man can really enter into a woman's presence with grace, I would say, and with a sense that she is welcoming and open and ready for receival. So if you have watched my first two videos, the first one was all about what you can do outside of the bedroom. The second one was focused on the top section, and once we have those two established, we can now move into the region that usually men and women associate with the idea of having intimacy, which is all between the legs. And what I will share with you all today, as a man, I think the first thing that women really would like to convey. Again, this is based off my experience working with women, working with men as well, in this department for their relationships to get stronger. It's a sense of feeling very safe, safe essentially, in order for a man to be able to make a woman get wet and feel ready again for that sort of penetration. She really needs to have a sense of comfort. So the first two videos were really about getting that sense of safety. Now, once you've kind of established that connection, building that bridge with another woman, it's time to kind of take that into a more physical standpoint. So what I would suggest, highly suggest, is not starting immediately full fingers, all things guns blazing, but rather starting a little bit to the exterior, which could be an inner thigh massage, and just going really slowly, maybe like using your thumbs on both sides to just do small circles, constantly staying on the outer edges of the inner thighs. And then once you allow that to go on for quite a longer amount of time, maybe you don't really have to count this, but again, maybe that could be around 20 different massage techniques to really just relax into it and not speed up. So the second thing that I would say is always a sense of slowing down is going to get you much further with a woman versus rushing into something or accelerating the speed. So that's something I don't think there's any education around, even though you can hear that. And a lot of the talk is around foreplay. Foreplay sometimes is getting misconstrued as having to add things such as toys into the bedroom or having to do something that people don't really understand what it means to have a sense of foreplay. So when you're doing an internal, like an inner thigh massage, and then you're kind of slowly spreading the warmth, kind of connecting to a person in that space, you are grounding a woman and you're kind of having her drop again into her body, which is a thread throughout my entire 3-part series for men, because the biggest thing that women don't have in terms of pleasure is a connection to their bodies. That's usually because they're checked out. They have some sort of maybe internal trauma that they've accumulated from their past partners or just from their own reasons. So once we move past the inner thighs, then we want to move over to the outer lips. So most people don't know that the outer lips are a big portion of a clitoris. A clitoris is not just the top that you can see, but it's actually this gland. And I highly suggest you looking into the anatomy of a clitoris. You would be very much surprised if you've never seen one. And the two legs, the front legs, actually extend into the lips, the outer lips of a woman's vulva, or a yoni, as I like to call it, because it's a more sacred term. And again, going from that inner thigh massage up into the lips and just kind of caressing and feeling like there's an entrance, like there is a gatekeeper to just walking into a woman's space. Having a woman for her to be able to relax and be able to receive you in the fullest form, she has to know that there is a boundary that you are aware of and you're allowing a vulnerable space to be opened up between the two of you. And that allows her to really relax into the moment, feel ready, be lubricated enough to be receptive, and so on. So once we have the external lips being caressed, and this could be really simple, it could really be like this petting motion. You may want to go into the center of the top of the two lips, which is this little hood where you can usually get that center clitoris. And then again, playing around with sensation very lightly is going to be a heightened amount of pleasure for a woman, especially if she is turned off from pleasure or she's more numbed out. Because the lighter your touches, the more the brain has to be hyper aware that there is something happening down there. And that allows somebody to be fully connected to the moment and to what sensation is occurring versus what it should feel like, why doesn't it feel like, and all those other things where a woman really drops back into her mind, or rather lifts up into her mind versus being down grounded in her body. So once you've played around with the inner thighs, the outer lips, then probably you're moving into the clitoris. That's when then you can maybe just play with the entrance where there's a little bit of space of before you get inside of a woman and just the outside of that space, just playing and toying with that little entrance, whether that's through touch, through tongue, however you want to approach that, is again going to be highly arousing. And it's going to be bringing a sense of anticipation to a woman. And that anticipation is extremely necessary for us to really be able to enjoy the entire experience of intimacy with a man. And for us, again, to be more open to the idea of having orgasm, which is kind of like this magical unicorn that not many women have ever experienced in their lives. And misguidingly, a lot of men believe that they've given women orgasms. And I would say about 99% of the time, you have not. And that's just the fact. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but at the same time, you want to learn your skills so a woman can receive the pleasure instead of her making you feel like you've achieved something that you really haven't. So with that being said, once you're playing with that entrance of the external part of a woman, just maybe like half inch inside, then you can start going really internal and deep. And then if you want to talk about internal, then the front wall of a woman, which would be kind of like where her stomach is, or even lower, I would say between the top of her pubic bone and her belly button. That's like a safe bet, closer down to the belly button area is the G spot. So that's where you can also play with the internal section. And for a woman who hasn't been receptive to pleasure, she hasn't experienced that, she's been unable to due to various reasons, a lot of the times the G spot can be very much small and shriveled up and lacking sensation, because just like anything, if you don't work out a muscle, it's eventually going to shrink and be weak. So G spots are pretty much the same thing. They're not a muscle, but they are erectile tissue. So it gets spongy. It gets very it like enlarges. It becomes different texture and different sizes depending on the arousal state of a woman. And the second part being how much she's willing to be receptive to this pleasure. The biggest problem for a lot of women and why men can't give pleasure to a woman is because she is shut down in her body and because she is just thinking about something outside of this moment. So all of these tips that I've been sharing to this moment of penetration and of internal play is for her to feel present, grounded, and connected to you. So I hope this has been helpful. Please let me know by leaving a comment, or if you feel like reaching out to me with some questions, definitely feel free to do so. And I hope this has been educational as always. Have a beautiful rest of your week.